I think this is a situation in which circumstances alter cases. There are some churches that don't seem to be in any locality. And I think increasingly in the 20th century, more and more churches were built, almost deliberately built that way. And I think with foresight, certainly with hindsight, I think it would have been plain that that was a disastrous methodology because it dislocated the Christian community from the community around about it. But this question sounds as though it's about a church that's actually set in a community. And I think my own general observation is that in many places 50 years ago, there were all kinds of bridges between the church and the community, and most of them have broken down now. So I think I would say to any particular church, the first thing that you need to do as a church is to ask the question, in what appropriate ways to this community can we build bridges from us to them that will enable us either to walk over to them, which might mean we would do things outside of our church plant, or in other communities that would enable them to walk over to us, or in some situations you can do both. And my own feeling has been that since everything, at the end of the day, everything is connected to the Lord, He is the creator and sustainer of all things, I would be prepared to use anything that was legitimate as a bridge. But you need to work out in your own location what that might be. I think another thing that is very important nowadays in our age of relativism, when I became a Christian, people had a sense that an individual conversion was significant. And in our postmodern or post-postmodern era, there is more likely to be the thought, well, if that's been a help to you, that's fine, but it wouldn't be a help to me. But the one thing that the world is incapable of replicating is the dynamism of a living Christian fellowship. And I think one of the observations I've had, for example, in relationship to our own church, we have seen in our own, the church I belong to in Scotland, I've spoken to quite a number of people in the last year who have just turned up at church absolutely out of nowhere for no apparent reason. And the thing that strikes them is this living community is totally different from what they thought church was. And when church really is church, in a way, it's life as it really was meant to be. And so I think one of the things that we should think more about is not just, so how can I as an individual member of the church evangelize my neighbors, but how can I take opportunity to expose the church to my neighbors so that because people sometimes feel things before they understand things, so that they can see there's something about this community that it just feels so right. And sometimes I think even people who would say, I hate what these people believe, find that the hatred is dissolved by the fact that they realize there is nothing like this in the world, and whatever it is, it seems so right. My own conviction is if society continues to move in its dysfunctional direction, then, for example, more and more parents who are not Christians, if they are exposed to the families that are in our church, are bound to find themselves asking, why is it that these families have managed to do this when we're all at sea in these matters? So when we're thinking about these things, I think sometimes some of us have been brought up under a tremendous pressure to engage in individual witness. I think we need to stand back from that and ask the question, how can we engage together in corporate witness? And there are particular ways you can do this as well. This isn't a lightning round, isn't it? Like in the church I served in Scotland, we used a number of evangelistic style Bible studies that actually were surrounded by meals in which members of the congregation served, so that it wasn't just Bible. It was Bible plus the people in whom you could see that the Bible had come to life by their disposition towards you as a non-Christian and by their relationship with one another. So I think always think along corporate and not just individual lines.